Hello. This podcast deals with reading critically, the why and the how of doing that type of exercise. First, when you're in college, you've been asked or tasked with taking an immense amount of information and making it your own in the parameters of a class or discipline or even a major. The first step to being successful in doing this is learning how to read for this audience. Now, as far as the steps to actively reading and engaging a text, it's first to kind of think about, why do we read a text? Why do we need to read a text critically? One, we're going to need to do it to understand the text. There's a reason that you've been asked to read these various texts in the class, and one of the reasons is that you will generate an understanding of what the text says. In short, this is a summary of what's been going on in the text. Two, you need to understand the context of the text. This means that you need to be able to place it within a historical paradigm or a paradigm of thought, or you need to be able to place it in a genre or a realm of works. This will help you as you generate a meaning of the text. So normally the first stage that we do is we move through and we understand what we've read. Then we place it within the context of why we're reading it or how we're reading it. This will allow us to generate a meaning. Now, you're doing these three elements so that you'll be able to discuss the text and demonstrate the knowledge of the text to others. In regards to the academy and college, you're doing it so that you can talk about it in a class and so that you can demonstrate knowledge of it to demonstrate the mastery you have of the material. These are the whys, in a very basic sense of why you do need to read a text critically. Now, of course, there's how do I do it? Well, the first step is that you're going to have to understand that you might know you really are going to have to read the text more than once. This means that you have got to establish a sense of organization and time management in your life. This means that if someone asks you to read a book in 2 weeks, that you need to have enough time to not only read it once and to understand what it's saying, but then you have to read it again, picking out the passages or areas that you find very important or salient to the discussion and the context of the reading. So, you need to plan accordingly. 2, you need to realize that you will need to take notes when you're reading. Just like you do in the classroom setting, marking down ideas and information that your professor or your peers deem noteworthy for the conversation, thus establishing the context. You will be doing the same thing when you're reading. This means you have to move past the passively highlighting stage that you all might be in. Remember, to highlight something does not mean that you're establishing any type of context or any type of meaning. It just means that you're making note of something that struck you. Instead of just passively highlighting, you're going to want to move from highlighting to actually integrating ideas and questions and interrogations into the text, which means you need a pencil. You need to write in the margins. You need to comment and critique the ideas that you're reading. This will help you to establish a process of reading and note-taking that will allow you to be more successful. Now, we've talked about the whys, we've talked about the hows. Now, let's talk about a method that you can actually take with you today. And this is a process that's going to allow you to take the text that you're reading and the notes that you've made and to complete a handout. Studies have shown that any implementation of a reading strategy, whether it be the one that I'm talking about today or another process that you've used in the past, will make you successful as a reader and as an understander of text. The handout that I'm speaking about and that you're going to become very familiar with is the Reading Critically handout. And it looks something like this. And it takes you through the what does it say, what does it mean, and what is its value. Now, you will see that each of those areas, saying, meaning, and value, are divided up into some sections so that you can demonstrate your understanding. You'll see in the what does it say section, I'm asking for questions and information in regards to knowledge and comprehension. Do you know what the text is saying? And can you provide a comprehensive exploration of what you believe the text is saying? This means that you'll want to outline the plot, you'll want to name main characters, and describe the sections of the piece, and discuss what the author may or may not want the reader to see after reading the piece. This leads us into the construction of meaning. One way that we can achieve an understanding of this concept is through the application process. This means that you will be applying the main theme or the focus of the piece as you see it to an experience that you've had, or to a previous class discussion or a previous reading, or you could even relate the main theme or focus of the piece to a historical moment, a political moment, a scientific moment, pretty much anything. The application process allows you to generate meaning of what you've read. It allows you to generate an understanding of the knowledge and comprehension of the work that you have. Now, the last stage, what is its value? This is where you're going to actually suggest to your other individuals in the discussion or in the class the value of the text in the parameters of the discussion. So, the value relies on you doing some analysis, some synthesis, and some evaluation. Now, when you analyze, you're going to take a couple of ideas, themes, characters, or moments from the piece, and you're going to put them into conversation with each other. Which one's more valid? Which one is more plausible? Which of the two, or maybe even more ideas, relate to an idea that we've been talking about in class? Now, this will move us to synthesis, where you're going to generalize to what kind of audience would agree with the main point from this piece. This means that you also might generalize to who might disagree. This kind of synthesis allows you to put your understanding and your knowledge and your comprehension of the piece into conversation with others. Now, the evaluation. This isn't where you say something's good or something's bad, but this is where you assess the piece using the criteria you've established. Does it work? How does it work? And if it does work, what does it demonstrate in its knowledge? And furthermore, how does this assessment work when we think about the ideas we've talked about in class or the materials that we've read? This type of movement requires you to construct a value to demonstrate to others and to yourself why we should read this piece, or even how we should read this piece. Of course, at the bottom of this page, there's a section that says Quotes That Made Me Think. This is an area where you can put down snippets from the text, from your notes, that made you think, that maybe helped you with knowledge, or contributed to your comprehension, or allowed you to apply the ideas to these various concepts. Maybe these were the ideas where you created an analysis, or a synthesis, or even they allowed you to evaluate. This type of strategy of moving through the what does the text say, what the text means, and what is the value of the text allows you to construct an overall meaning and generate discussion points for the reading. Now, it takes some time to do this type of work, and that is why time management is going to be important. So, first and foremost, know that you have to read the text more than once. You need to take notes and not just passively highlight, and that you need to use a handout, like the Reading Critically handout, to be able to capture your knowledge before you discuss it.